All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to Eddie Live Podcast, episode 304. I'm here with musician Adam Sorensen. What's up, brother?
Hey, man.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
ya.
me. It's a pleasure.
Just make sure these guys are rolling. Yes. Yes. Boom. Man. Jazz night, Eddie's Cantina. How you feeling about that?
Good. It's great.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's cool to have a gig up in Tiamu, you
Yeah,
know.
okay.
Because I'm in the city, kind of in the middle of the city a bunch. So
Okay.
having one up here in the north is cool. It's nice.
I think we're always trying to bring like cool stuff to Tianmu, and
Yeah.
sometimes we do, sometimes we fail, but I think the jazz is going well.
Yeah.
I love it. My wife's favorite music is jazz, so that helps.
It does help.
It helps a
Yes,
lot.
I know
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what you mean.
And what else helps is that you're actually very good.
Thank you.
You
Thank
know,
you.
sometimes you'll have, live musicians and stuff like that come out, and I'm like, yeah, let's just do it. I don't even listen, or they'll give you something that's totally auto-tuned.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this sounds good, and then you do it, and then live, it's like, ooh.
Yeah.
You're like, oof. Yeah. So your stuff is great, man. How long have you
Thanks,
been
man.
doing the music?
As a job, as a full-time job,
Yeah.
since I was 23 or 24.
So 2 years then, right? Yeah.
2.5.
Two and a half. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, as a full-time job since then, but playing since I was 11 or 12.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
11,
Wow.
something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you always been interested in like music and stuff like that? I guess, right?
Yeah, from early on, it was always, my folks listened to music a whole bunch at home. And my mom would, always sing to the radio in the car.
Beautiful.
And
Love that.
so I think my parents love music, and so I think that just having it around,
Yeah.
even if they're not performing musicians or something like that, just
Yeah.
having a family that loves music,
Okay.
just kind of becomes a thing. It's in your background all the time.
What kind of music did they listen to while you were growing up? Like classic stuff, jazz, rock and roll?
So there's a few records, like there's a few kind of pivotal records I remember from my
Okay.
dad's collection. The one, he had a Aretha's Gold. It was like
Okay.
it was a direct cut record of Aretha Franklin.
Wow.
And he had this, unfortunately I'm old enough so that
I know Aretha.
no, but I mean that my dad was into like, the hi-fi kind of stereo system.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Back in the
of
day.
course.
And so
8-track and stuff.
he had a really nice one with some JBL speakers, and had a huge power amp, and it was pretty loud. So he would play this Aretha record and turn it up. And I remember one of the heaviest memories I have is standing in the room. The stereo was in the living room, and I was in the next room listening to it. And it sounded like the band was in our house.
That's amazing.
And I closed my eyes and I kind of let myself believe. It sounded so real
Okay.
that
nice.
I kind of closed my eyes and I was like, they're playing in our house. And it was one of those weird situations. But I remember that just that music, the vibe, Aretha's sound having a huge impact.
That's
just
beautiful.
just had goosebumps.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I also think my dad is a musician as well.
Yeah.
So I grew up with mom listening to all the Mexican music,
Yeah.
and then dad listening to all like the rock and roll, which is now classic rock. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Rolling Stones
Sure,
and
sure,
Led
sure.
Zeppelin and stuff like that. So for me, growing up listening to that, I'm a big music fan as well. My dad never really had the patience to kind of teach us to do that. He was a drummer.
Right.
So he never really had the patience to teach that to us.
Right.
But we all love music, so
Yeah.
it was amazing, man. Growing up with music, my dad was also a DJ, and so he still has a massive record collection, and we
Yeah.
used to kind of DJ all over town, and we bring the records and we bring the hi-fi and all that stuff.
Oh,
So yeah,
wow.
it was pretty cool, man.
That
it was
is
pretty
so cool.
It's,
Yeah.
it's funny because my dad's a very antisocial guy, but we would be up there and just doing, all this music all over town. But he built this like wooden wall
Yeah.
to cover himself, so
Yeah.
nobody would talk to him. It was crazy. The antisocial DJ, I guess.
It's
yeah.
interesting. Like
Yeah.
You know, as a performing musician too, like I relate to that because it sounds like your dad was able to actually get something out, like express
Yeah.
something through playing that music that he loved.
Yeah.
But he didn't necessarily he didn't want to have the direct. He just wanted to express it, have people enjoy it, and let it be what it was.
He didn't want people to come to him. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes when I perform, we'll finish and the audience is clapping, and then you go behind the curtain and just sit and just just completely do your own thing and have zero interest in talking to anybody because you kind of left it all out there.
Yeah.
And
That
so,
makes sense.
yeah, it's a different way of. It's weird, but you're kind of connecting with people, but you're doing it on your terms.
Okay. Yeah.
Instead
Yeah.
of having to deal with them, right?
That makes sense.
But then I guess there are nights too when you kind of feel like talking to people, and you're like, man, it's so great to have you guys out. Or
I love that.
yeah.
I know that the live music scene was bigger before and it kind of died down, and now is it coming back up? I mean, we love live music. We're
Yeah.
trying to. When we built this restaurant, we Robert from American Club.
Yeah,
he's a longtime friend of mine, and he set up all the stereo and stuff here. So
Yeah.
because we want to do live music and
Yeah.
karaoke night, and we have private events and stuff.
Sure.
So how's the live music scene now in Taiwan? How are you feeling?
So my take on it, I think in every city I've lived in, you kind of find your circle of people
Okay.
that you connect with, that you enjoy playing music with and hanging out with both.
Okay.
Where you're on
Yeah.
where you're on the same kind of wavelength. And so once that develops and you kind of get that little world happening, it's easy to kind of not be so aware of the world that's happening outside of that. So as far as I can see, and it seems like there's a lot going on.
Okay.
There's a lot of young players in the jazz scene kind of doing their thing. I don't know who most of them are because I play with the kind of group of people that I play with.
Yeah.
So I don't recognize a lot of them, but I see like advertisements for gigs and that. And I feel like there are a lot of people that are interested in music and performing it, and that there's a bunch going on. There's obviously, the pop singers who tour and the bands who tour, and then you've got the heavy like the Ame
Yeah, like
and
superstars.
and J. Joe, those people, and a couple friends of mine do those gigs.
Okay.
So and then we'll play local jazz gigs when they're off the road.
Okay.
So they kind of fill me in.
Okay.
Sometimes on the dirty laundry a little bit. Sometimes they'll talk about the dynamics on the road, between the musicians and just a little gossip and stuff like that. But I kind of get like a little peek into that world through them because I don't really do the pop thing here at all. So.
Okay.
So I kind of live vicariously through their stories. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think what brought you here originally? Did you come here to play music, or tell me about what brought you to Taiwan originally?
No, I was playing full time in Chicago, and my wife, who is Taiwanese, we at the time were both living in the States. I was living in Chicago. She was living in Indianapolis. So we were about 3.5 hour to 4 hour car ride apart.
Okay.
And she was teaching at a couple of IB schools in downtown Indianapolis. So she did that for 3 years. I was gigging and doing my thing in Chicago. We just commuted all the time, back and forth.
Okay.
And before that, we had lived in the UK for about 4 years in Edinburgh in Scotland.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so we did that, and then she was there on an H-1 visa at that time.
Okay.
Working visa, and the person at wherever the paper
You were married already, or not yet?
we
at the time?
weren't.
You
No, we
okay.
weren't married, and the paperwork was sent for her to have her visa done like well in advance. But whoever was at the office just kind of dragged their feet on the process and didn't get it in.
Gotcha.
And so her visa, because somebody just didn't physically hand it in, didn't go through.
Okay.
And at that time, we didn't want to get married just because of a visa.
Understand 100%.
Yeah, so we had to figure out what to do. So she came back to Taiwan. She got a job here. She wasn't planning on it, but she kind of got one here, and it was a great job.
A good job, yeah.
So I decided to leave my gigs in Chicago
Yeah.
and just see if I could make it work here,
Okay.
with us being here together. And that was like 12 years ago, and I'm still here. So I guess it worked.
I think it's a pretty cool story because she was out there and she was working on her visa out there.
Yeah.
And then she came back, got a job here, and you're like, well, I'll just go there and try it out and see how it
Yeah,
goes.
and we're
Pretty cool.
we're married now.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but we weren't then, and so yeah, it was a little bit of a risk. I mean, so I was playing 3 nights a week at a place in downtown Chicago,
Okay.
and I was playing drums on that gig, and I put my drum hardware, the stands and stuff, I would keep them at the gig, so I didn't have to carry everything.
Yeah.
And so I just basically got a long-term sub because I didn't know
Yeah.
how it was going to work here.
Of course, yeah.
And I left the hardware, and I just never went back to get it. It just kind of lived. It may still, for all I know, be there. But yeah, that was it. And then I came here, and now I'm kind of just doing my music career here, and and we're together, and it's just a different, I mean, as you know, coming from Canada, living
Yeah.
in Taiwan it's not, some people come here and they love it immediately.
Yeah.
Some people, it takes a little while for them, and then some people don't ever really get comfortable because
100%.
because
Yeah.
it's different. And I found myself, it took me a while to kind of figure out my rhythm
Okay.
with Taiwan's rhythm, and then once I did, I was like, wow, this is an amazing place to live.
Yeah.
It's an amazing democracy,
Yeah.
and the way that the country functions is so. I'm impressed all the time by how things work here. I just think the way that everything is integrated, as far as like
Yeah.
financial stuff, and I mean, basically, you can go to 7-Eleven and do about 90% of what you need to do.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, you could never do that in the States ever.
You can go, for people that don't know, you can go to 7-Eleven and pay your phone bill and pay like your water bill and, buy yourself a coffee, buy yourself a snack.
Pay your parking
pay
tickets.
your parking tickets.
Buy concert tickets.
Yeah.
Buy train tickets.
Yep. Everything.
Everything, and have packages delivered there.
That's right. Yeah. It's crazy because it's so convenient.
You can't do any of that at 7-Eleven in the States. Like nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can get a Slurpee or a hot
Slurpee,
dog.
which I do like.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's funny because you get used to this convenience.
Yeah.
And then every time I travel, including back to my hometown,
Sure.
I always feel how inconvenient everything is.
Yeah.
Because recently I went to Dubai for a trip, and it was beautiful. Dubai was nice, but everywhere you go is about on Google Maps it would say 20-25 minute taxi ride, but because there's so much traffic,
Yeah.
everything was an hour, right?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
every stop that you make is an hour, and then an hour back to your hotel, and then an hour
That's
there.
a lot of
And
time.
so it's a lot of time wasted, and it's also, it's just like here. I mean, I can walk almost everywhere. I
Yeah.
have my scooter just for the close by. If I want to go downtown, like last night, I went to a Computex is on right now, right? So a friend of mine is like a tech guy, connected tech guy, and we went to an El Gato party, which is El Gato. This is my favorite company, and one of the favorites in the world.
Yeah.
And we went and we just took a taxi down to downtown in a 101 area, and 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and you're
Yeah.
there. We ate, we hung out for a bit, and then we cabbed it back, and it was great.
Yeah.
Whereas an hour here, an hour there, it's too much. It's crazy. Yeah, convenience is king in Taiwan.
It is, and I lived I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, but
Okay.
I spent a lot of time driving downtown in Chicago and back and forth from the burbs to downtown.
Uh-huh.
I lived in New York City for 6 years. I lived in Salt Lake City for 10 years.
Wow. Utah Jazz.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they just got a hockey team. They just got an NHL
Oh, really?
team. Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know that.
Utah absorbed the Arizona the coyotes.
Okay. Oh, really? Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah,
that. Okay,
yeah. So
okay.
it was called the Utah Hockey Club, like temporarily,
Okay.
and now I think it's the Utah Mammoth,
Okay.
something Mammoths,
Interesting
plural.
name. Okay.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
That's cool. Yeah.
so dealing with traffic, particularly in Chicago and the Chicagoland area and in New York City, traffic is pretty intense, and it's like you were saying, it's when you get stuck, you really get
You're
stuck.
stuck.
Yeah, in New York City,
Oh, forget
I
it.
could
Yeah.
remember like literally being trapped in traffic for 8 hours, like 8 hours.
That's rough.
Yeah, I mean it gets like it just gets unreasonable where you're like, man, this is crazy. And so
That's an 8-hour workday stuck in traffic, basically.
I mean that's
crazy.
if something major happens,
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
or commuting. But
Wow.
Taiwan, comparatively, I just don't ever feel like it gets that way.
No, never.
It
Yeah.
always feels like everything is a half an hour away.
That's true. And I think if you could, I think you could go from the top tip to the bottom tip in less than 8 hours, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is beautiful. I love that. I mean,
Yeah.
there are many good things about Taiwan that I love.
Yeah, the high-speed rail, the Gautier,
That's amazing.
is incredible, and I
Yeah.
wish, you know, I guess there are probably multiple reasons they don't have it in the States, but man, I wish we did. I mean, high-speed rail is such a great way to travel.
It is. I think it's what, hour and a half down to Kaohsiung, which is crazy, something like that, or maybe even less. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
so fast.
So fast, right?
Yeah, it's great.
And go ahead.
Well, no, when I'm on the high speed rail, I genuinely get rest. Like I can easily fall asleep and
Yeah.
catch some Z's on there.
So smooth.
Whereas I don't find that. I don't get that. I certainly can't sleep on a bus, or I generally get sick when I'm on
Yeah,
a bus.
me too.
Taxis too.
Yeah.
So high speed to me is like it's just smooth and you can relax. I love it. It's like super civilized way to travel.
It feels like almost like an airplane, right?
Sure.
It's smoother than an airplane, obviously,
Yeah.
but it just feels. Yeah, I enjoy that. So we love taking that. Apparently, there's I've seen some YouTube videos about this really super high-end kind of a train that's like, you know, the movies where it's just decked out and there's a food area. So like, I've seen some cool stuff. And
Yeah.
I would like to check that out, but apparently it's like more expensive than a plane. So it's kind of yeah, I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, there's
Some high-end thing, right?
Well, occasionally I've not done that, but occasionally I've had to do business
Okay.
class in the business class is great. I mean, it's kind of like flying business on a plane. The
Okay.
seats are bigger. You get to recline. Everything's
Okay.
a little nicer.
Nice.
You get a beverage and some biscuits or whatever. So the whole thing is a little softer impact. You know.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It is nice.
Yeah,
It
that
is.
is nice,
It is
yeah.
nice. You know, when you're. I usually do that when the regular tickets are sold out, because if I'm going down for a gig,
Yeah.
I'm going down there to play and to work, and then I'm coming right back. So I'm not, you know, going business doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
when it does happen, I enjoy it. Yeah,
Beautiful,
it's great.
Beautiful. Do you so has Taiwan kind of influenced any of your music?
Yeah. In this way. So every city I've lived in, everyone
Yep.
has kind of required different things of me, or I should say, in kind of pursuing a path in music.
Yep.
In every city has a different
Like a musical vibe or
a different musical vibe, and then different needs. You know, there's more work in this genre of music or this style of music. So,
Okay.
for instance, I found in Salt Lake City, I did a ton of bands. You know, I played in a bunch of
Okay.
bands, toured in bands, recorded with
Okay.
bands. And then I was doing a lot of jazz, and then I really wanted to focus on that, so I moved to New York to do that. New York, I did.
That's cool.
I
Tell me
did-
about New York jazz. That's like the mecca of jazz, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, playing.
That's amazing.
Playing in New York living in New York is just, it's a full experience, you know, because you're living in, you know, in shouting distance sometimes of the people that you idolize. You know,
Crazy.
Your heroes are all around and they're playing all the time. So it's
That's amazing.
yeah, it changes the way you view yourself. First of all, you set the bar higher because the level around you is so high.
Okay, sure.
That if you don't, there's really no use in participating or trying to participate, right? So
So you kind of up your game because these all like the heavy hitters are everywhere.
you have to, yeah. It would be like being a baseball player
Okay.
and being surrounded by like Major League Baseball, like they all
Yeah.
live around. Like, yeah, you got to just you got to get better.
That's beautiful. Okay.
So yeah, living there is inspiring and it's intimidating too because you
imagine. Yeah.
you have all these amazing players and generally people, everybody has their own kind of speciality and everybody's really good at something and generally it's something that they specialize in that maybe you don't.
Okay.
So you find yourself noticing these amazing things about other people and you're like, I can't do that. I'm
That's
not
tough.
Yeah, so it's constant self-reflection, and then you have to figure out what or become more comfortable with what it is you do, well.
Okay.
What it is you're capable of doing, like what skill set you have,
Okay.
and you're able to develop, and you just kind of have to kind of double down on that,
Okay.
and kind of find your own voice.
Yeah.
I think if you don't do that work to do that, you kind of just get lost in the noise because there's just so much happening.
Okay.
So you really have to, you really have to kind of get clearer about what it is you want to do.
Okay.
And focus on that and just try to be really good at that.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Is there like, if someone were to ask you, what's the major difference between gigging in, the States, New York,
Yeah.
compared to gigging here in Taiwan, Taipei?
I mean, most of the gigs I do here are jazz gigs.
Okay.
So in Chicago or in New York or even in Salt Lake for that matter,
Okay.
like there's a certain kind of way things work. There's a
Okay.
certain kind of hierarchy with older musicians who are
Okay.
established, who have a very kind of high level skill set, and there's almost kind of an apprenticeship
Okay.
program
That
where
makes sense. Yeah.
where you
yeah.
or mentorship where you have somebody who's, if you're a drummer, you have a teacher, and this person kind of over a period of time teaches you what they have. They start to give you work. They're like,
Okay.
hey, I need a sub for this. I think you're able to do this now, so
Okay.
I'm going to give your number to this guy and he's or her, and
Wow.
and they're going to call you. So that's kind of how it works there. In Taiwan, I think there's, I mean, again, as I said in the beginning, the group of people that I play with,
Yeah.
a bunch of them are foreigners.
Okay.
I don't right now. When I first moved here, I played more in the local Taiwan jazz scene, like with
Okay.
local musicians.
Okay.
And as time went on, I just found myself kind of gravitating towards some of the foreigners, and I guess maybe because some of us had shared experiences in the past.
Kind of like found your tribe type deal.
Yeah. We
Okay.
we lived in other cities, and I think so I that's just kind of how it happened. So I
Okay.
just kind of found my group of people. So doing music here, it's kind of the same in every city. In every city you show up, you have what you're able to do.
Okay.
Yeah. And you kind of look around and you see what music, basically what music are people willing to pay to see.
Sure.
Right.
Okay,
So you
okay.
find out what jobs are available. Right.
I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do more than one thing. I play the drums, and my degree is in jazz drumming.
Oh, nice.
But I
Okay.
sing and play guitar
Okay.
too. So I kind of do. If there's, I mean, in Taiwan, I found myself gravitating a little more away from the drums and doing lots of singing because
Yeah.
there was just a lot of work
Okay.
doing it, and I think it also because I really enjoy doing it.
Okay.
If
yeah.
I didn't enjoy
I
doing
mean, I
it,
can see that when you're gigging here, I can see you're totally vibing out. The eyes are closed. It's great, which is good, because it's tough. It's like live music it's tough, but I think what you're saying, jazz
yeah,
is like more acceptable, because a lot of the times, like I've dealt with a lot of musicians, right, and a lot of the times, like you're playing and you're doing your thing, and people are listening, having a good time, but sometimes the musician is like, they get louder and louder, and they're like, hey, like people are coming to eat or whatever, and they're just like, hey, watch me, I'm the star, type deal. And
Yeah.
they really, when people don't watch them, they're like almost angry, like almost insulted.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
it's-
I mean, you kind of, when you're a performer, you kind of bring everything that you have to the stage,
Yeah.
and that means your baggage too.
Okay.
So
yeah.
if you're, if you're somebody who's kind of insecure
Yeah.
and you need people to look at you to feel comfortable, or you need them to be giving your undivided attention, then it can get weird, right? Or people are you have maybe an intimate moment and people
Yeah.
are talking over it,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, how dare you?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think I've been doing it for quite some time, and to me, playing the weekly gigs I do, it's almost like, I don't know, you're kind of like working out. I always have this goal, I'm always trying to get better.
Yeah.
So every gig, every song that I'm singing or that I'm playing on, I'm trying to concentrate, be in the moment, and just focus on the sound that I'm creating.
Okay.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Am I creating a good tone? Am I in tune? Is the time happening? Like, am I relaxed? And the coolest thing about being a musician is it's like this lifelong process of just chipping away at being more in the moment when you do what you do
Okay.
in front of a group of people.
Yeah.
Obviously, like if gardening is your thing, you're doing the same thing, but you don't have an audience.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So for me, going through that process in front of a room full of people, there's something about the pressure of that pushes you along a little farther, because
Okay.
because you're obliged to
Yeah.
perform. You're obliged to bring something, right? So there's that. Bye, guys. Bye.
Yeah.
So there's that expectation that you have to do that, and I like that. I think that pressure kicks my butt a little bit,
Okay.
and it gives me the motivation that I kind of need to keep. It's a beautiful context to keep trying to chip away at something and get better at it and be more in the moment with it.
Okay.
And the other thing is playing jazz. So I could remember being like 23, 24, touring in a rock band and playing some great shows and opening for some really big bands and thinking, wow, this is kind of fun. But then even at that age, I was like, man, do I want to be 50 or 55? Because I want to keep doing music. And at that age, is this context, like this genre of music, being with these people, is this going to be cool?
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like no.
That's tough. Yeah.
I mean, I knew that the music, I wanted to be able to be participating in music that, like, when I'm 80, it's not going to be embarrassing to play that music in front of people.
Okay.
Like,
okay.
you can
Sure.
do a jazz gig and really have it together and people can come and enjoy. When you're 80 and you're playing kind of like angsty rock,
Yeah.
that kind of maybe a 25-year-old can really own on the stage.
Yeah.
You can do it, but I think at a certain point it gets a little forced, and maybe you're not there in your life. The cool thing about jazz as a music is there's a maturity to the music. There's a depth to it, in the same way there is to classical music. So that as you age, as you grow, as you mature, the music is there with you.
Okay.
And it's kind of waiting for you to explore more. It's like waiting for you to open up and to become a more complete musician.
Okay.
That's the coolest thing, is that the music is just this open door for all of those possibilities, as you know, basically until you decide to not play anymore, or until you can't play anymore. Most of my heroes played until they passed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they played until the very end of their lives. And
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the classic guys
Yeah.
that were like a BB King type guy, right? It was just like
Yeah, and that's the kind of
that's cool.
That's the
Yeah.
kind of job. I mean, look at painters. You know, like, I mean, they don't retire. They just get to the point where they can't paint anymore.
Yeah,
Like
true.
they can't physically do it, or
Yeah.
they die. You know, they get to the end of their life. So
Yeah.
I think having something that you love, that you basically have this open-ended kind of relationship with, that you can kind of, you know, grow with for the course of your life, it's pretty cool, because it means that you always have this thing to plug into, to be creative with, and to push yourself, so that you
Okay.
don't just stagnate and stay the same, but that you're constantly trying to dig deeper, you know?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a mastery, like a level of mastery that, you know, you try to get 1% better each time, and it's
Yeah.
almost like you can, like a BB King, like you can almost never master it, right? It's something that you got to get better at, and there's always some amazing people, right? There's people that get better and better and better, and then there's people that are like in their 80s, and you're like, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing.
And the interesting thing is, as your life changes, as you get older, as the things around you change because of your age and because of that, your relationship to the music changes, your emotions change, your body changes, and you literally, you know, on a cellular level, become a different person, right? We're constantly, our cells are, you know,
Everything's moving.
yeah,
Things are moving,
everything's in a constant state of flux. So I feel like playing a style of music that requires that you improvise, meaning that you bring yourself in the moment to the music,
Yep.
and it kind of demands that of you. That's like that's a great place to be if you want to kind of live in that space, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think some people are maybe more comfortable with something that's a little more, you know, kind of doing the same thing over and over. Like there's a little more consistency to it. But I like having some chaos in my life.
I think it's important, man. I think it's important
You know?
to have that little bit of chaos, because, you know,
Yeah.
it keeps things fresh. You know, sometimes, like even for me, one of the reasons I started to do these interviews and the podcast and stuff
Yeah.
is because, you know, the restaurant's, you know, good. You know, I enjoy doing it. Sometimes it's busy, sometimes it's not. And I get bored, right? Like
Yeah.
I want to kind of make the restaurant as good as I can make it. You know, want to make my relationship with, you know, my family as good as I can make it. But I also want to learn how to use this thing, you know, because this is great, because, you know, I can switch my little camera angles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's great. I love that stuff. And it's cool to kind of
Well, you're
just chip away at something, and
you're
you get to this level and you're so happy. I love
you're
that.
staying
Yeah.
engaged,
Yes, that's the
right?
main
Like
thing.
you're
Yeah.
not checking out. You're not just
Yeah.
kind of falling into this kind of autopilot routine.
Yes.
Where you're kind of apathetically just, you know, wandering to the end of life. I mean, that sounds kind of dark, but you know,
It does sound dark, but I know, unfortunately, a lot of people, how can I say it, when they retire,
yeah,
it's just like, yes, you know, I retired, got that income or whatever coming in, but then it's like, okay, they sleeping in, you know, you can sleep in for a couple months or whatever, but then you're like, well, what am I doing? You know, you got to find something. So, yeah, I think it's kind of a scary thing to retire. You know, you see people that are super healthy, super fit, and then they retire and they just kind of like slowly start to decline, you know? I think just keeping engaged and, you know, trying to improve at something, no matter what it is, I think it's important. Yeah.
yeah. You know, I've always struggled, like personally, to grasp the word retire.
Yeah.
Because I love what I do so much, and the childlike kind of zeal
Yeah.
that I feel when I do it, you know, that's never gone away. Thank goodness.
That's
you know.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so like there's I'm in no hurry to
Yeah.
not do what I love doing. So when I talk to someone who, you know, has a job where they work
Are they-
40 or 50 or 60 hours a week, and they're like, man, I can't wait for this to be over.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
tough.
I just think to myself, man, I just can't wait till, like, I hope when I'm 80 I have like a ton of gigs. I hope I'm gigging like
Yeah.
6 nights a week. You know, I mean,
agree.
seriously, like I just want to do it, and I feel really grateful
Yeah.
to have found something that is a vocation that's that enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because I am cognizant of the fact that a lot of people have not found something that kind of fits into that.
I think we're lucky. I think we're very lucky because
Yeah.
I know, like a lot of people, like, oh, you know, the restaurant, you know, you trade in your 9 to 5 for 24/7, which is true. You know, it's kind of crazy, but I love what I'm doing, and I would love to do. I would do this forever. You know, doing the podcast. Like, there's extra things that I get to do, like this. I get to,
Yeah.
you know, go to Dubai to do live streams and stuff like that. There's so many things that I get to do because, you know, I did the restaurant and I got to do other things
Yeah.
and meet different people and the network that you build with this kind of thing. It's crazy. I love it. And so, yeah, I can't imagine someone coming in and saying, all right, I'm going to give you $1 million or $10 million, and I'm just going to take away your podcast, your restaurant. It's all mine now, and here's money, and you just go retire. I don't know what I would do. You know what I mean? If somebody just said, I'm going to give you $10 million, you stop, and I'd be like, oh, it sounds good, but then now what am I going to do?
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I think that's the weird
Yeah.
thing, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I think sometimes when you don't have millions and millions of dollars, there's this kind of illusion, you know.
I
it's like-
don't.
it's yeah, I don't either.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's this illusion that if you had that, like, all problems would go away. But I think
Yeah.
they've actually studied it quite in depth as far as wealth and how wealth relates to happiness.
Okay.
And I think from what I've gained from the little research I've done is that wealth is useful when it gets to a certain point.
Okay, yes.
When you acquire past that certain point of wealth, when you have excess wealth,
Yeah.
your quality of life actually goes down, or your happiness, I should say, goes down.
Okay. Interesting.
Because I guess there are certain, once you're holding on to that much energy, there are certain things required of you to keep holding on to it, I
Yeah,
guess.
that makes sense.
And I would,
People trying to, you know, like, hey, what's, you know,
I guess.
donate to this
Yeah,
or whatever. I
I-
don't know because I don't have it. But
yeah, I don't have
I'm
the
imagining.
luxury of
Yeah.
being on the inside of that.
Maybe one day.
But I just feel so rich, like energetically, just having something that is basically this lifelong project that I'm kind of committed to, that I'm fascinated by, and that keeps me interested. And I was thinking, you know, with your podcast and with your restaurant, both, like, you're connecting to people
Yeah.
directly. You're feeding people, so you're literally changing them. Yeah, you're you know, you're physiologically changing them when they
Yeah.
come, and they're eating food that comes from your family.
Yeah.
I mean, recipes and that, which is pretty amazing. I mean, that's
Yeah.
very personal.
For sure. Yeah,
And on
yeah.
the podcast, similarly, you're directly kind of conversing. So not so different from me, you know, being on stage
Yeah.
playing the songs. Like, we're both looking for that connection, you know.
Okay,
And
sure,
and I
sure.
think when we find ways that kind of suit our personality, that make it work, it's satisfying, and you don't want it to stop. You're like, man, this is
Yeah.
great. I'm good. I don't need to be rich. I love this.
I love what I'm doing. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I could use a little more, but
yeah. Right.
yeah,
Right.
no, it's funny because a lot of people, you know, they'll do their podcast or their YouTube channel, and it's hard. YouTube and all that, it's hard, but they will look at me, and I've been doing the podcast like once a week for like 5 or 6 years because
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Right. This is great. You know, sometimes I do twice a week, and people will just be like, "Wow, you're really consistent. You're really hustling." And I'm like, actually, I like it. This is fun. I'm enjoying this. I don't want to stop.
Yeah, it's-
I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying having the chat. Like, I love watching podcasts or listening to them, like Joe Rogan.
Same, yeah.
You know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
when I'm making my tortilla dough in the back, I'll throw on some Rogan.
Right.
And it's great. I love it. And
Yeah.
Rogan always says, you know, when it comes to do with wealth, you know, all you need is, when you go out to eat dinner, let's say you want to go out for dinner, every day, and you don't have to look at the menu price. That's basically his bar. He's like, that's the bar for, that's all you need. After that, it's like, it's bullshit, he says, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a certain peace you experience inside when you found that thing also.
Yeah.
When you kind of found your thing, it's almost like a little secret that you have. You're
It's
like,
almost like you hacked the matrix a little bit, right?
yeah, you did, right, because it becomes like when I see people struggling that don't have that.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Or that haven't found something they really connect with.
Yeah. A lot of people make a lot more money than me, but they're they'll come in and they'll complain about it. They don't like their job, or they don't like their this or that.
Yeah.
And it's tough, and I'm like, I see it as like, well, you're making a ton of money, so suck it up, dude.
Right.
But
Handle it.
But on my side, we're doing okay, not huge money, but I'm enjoying it. I love it. I love doing the podcast. I love the restaurant. I love meeting people. So
Yeah.
live music every Wednesday, right?
Yeah, man.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. I love it.
Yeah, and I'm like you too. I mean, I'll throw podcasts on. I think it's, there are times when you're on your own, and just listening to two other people that you find interesting,
I love it.
converse about a topic, or
Yeah.
could be about something ridiculous.
Yeah, it could be anything. Yeah.
Whatever it is, but you're still in a way participating in that conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And you're still kind of gleaning the thought process or processes of both people. So you're still, I find myself, always getting something. I mean, there's certain people that I listen to on a regular basis who I just like the way they think and the way they communicate. So I kind of stay in touch with that. Then I'll maybe take a break, but I'll
same. Everybody. Yeah.
When I go cycling is one time when I'll pop on the earbuds. I've got earbuds that don't block out the sound; they just kind of go over, so I can hear traffic and everything. It's not like It's not dangerous, but I can when there's no traffic and it's quiet, I can really body's moving. I'm kind of taking that in, and I enjoy kind of multitasking that way. It's fun.
I actually, I don't cycle or anything like that, but what I do is, I used to go to the gym, but Timu was small, so the gym would always have a lot of customers, which is great.
Sure.
But people would be like making reservations and stuff, and I'm like in the zone. I got my stuff on. They'd be like, "Hey, I got a reservation tonight, 6 people. Can I get that booth?" And then I'm like, literally, like earbuds in, like so. What I like to do now is there's a park by my house.
Yeah.
That's usually just old people doing stuff, and they have like parallel bars and stuff like that. And I just go do calisthenics stuff. So I'll alternate that, and then like sprints at the the jogging track.
Yeah.
That's it. These two things keeps me. Like I'll put earbuds in, and it's only like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like an hour max.
Yeah.
A day, and it's just like, for me, it's like heaven. I love it. It's you put the earbuds in. And it's just like, sometimes I'll put a podcast on. Sometimes I'll put like some 90s rap that I grew up with, you know. Sometimes some 70s classic rock. And sometimes I'll put, like David Goggins yelling at you, and I'll put that in there. And I'm just like, this is great, like. Yeah. And it's great. And it depends on the mood. And it's like, it's my time and keeps me sane. And it keeps me, semi-fit-ish, I guess. And I enjoy that. That's beautiful, man.
That's the cool thing about like podcasts are so omnipresent. I mean, they're so everywhere, and there's so many dealing with every issue, every topic you could imagine. So it's it's beautiful when you find a task or exercising or something that you love to do, and you can do it, really effectively with the podcast. Yeah. It's kind of like 2 in 1.
I love that.
You're getting like a 2-for-1 deal, right? You're like, oh man, this is great. I feel like I'm cheating because I love doing this, and I'm able to. I don't know if it's supposed to be good for you or not to multitask, but for me, I like having 2 things going on at the same time. It helps my brain, and maybe that says something about the way my brain works or doesn't work, but when I practice the guitar at home, I'll throw on I Love Ghost Stories.
Okay,
So
beautiful.
I'll throw
I
on
like scary movies too.
I'll
Yeah,
throw
yeah.
on ghost stories or all of these, just all these kind of dark podcasts. I'll put all that stuff on and I'll sit there and running through chords and stuff like that. I'm kind of, I'm always tracking the story and I'm in there and I get in the zone and it makes it less, it's less effort. When I I feel like the podcast kind of occupies a part of my mind that would have me distracted, kind
Yeah.
of have my brain wandering around.
I like the like Eric Thomas and like all these like motivational speaker
Mm.
guys, like David Goggins, right? You're tired. You're kind of at the end of your workout.
Right.
Like I could do more, but I'm getting lazy. I'm tired. And then a random Goggins clip will pop in there, and it'll be like, "Oh, you want to be normal? Okay, go home then." Go home. You know what I mean? And then it's like, no, I got to do one more. I got one more,
Yeah.
So I love that stuff. That totally keeps me going, because it's like, oh, you want to be normal now? Okay, so go home. Go home, and I'm just like, oh. Okay, I love that. It totally gets me, especially when it's perfect timing. I love it. Yeah.
I remember when Tony Ferguson was speaking of
Yes,
MMA when he now it didn't work for him. I mean, he lost the fight.
Izzy's doing the same thing right now. Yeah, did you see that? Izzy Adesanya is training also with Goggins.
Yeah,
right?
I know that. I remember when Tony did it. I mean, it seemed to have a big impact on him. But people were questioning whether or not
Overtraining.
there was too much physical exertion
Yeah.
in a camp. So you're going to be basically spent by the time you get to the fight.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you peak at the wrong time, right?
Yeah, and he didn't. That was a rough fight
Was it
for
the
him.
Chandler fight? I can't remember which fight it was.
No,
Or was it Patty Pimblett?
I think
maybe?
it was Patty Pimblett.
Okay.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
And Patty,
He's
Pat-
amazing.
he
Yeah,
is.
yeah, he's amazing,
He's
yeah.
really good, man.
And to be honest, we're talking about podcasts, and my favorite is when Rogan has a fighter on.
Yeah.
Like when Rogan had Izzy on or Francis Ngannou,
Yeah.
or something like that. That's the best. When I see a fighter like a TJ Dillashaw or something go on, I'm just like, that's it. I'm set. This is good. I'm good for 3 hours.
It's amazing.
I love that.
because that's like Joe's
Yeah.
wheelhouse.
Exactly,
Joe is so deep into MMA, and he understands it on such a deep level. He loves it.
Yeah.
And he's just so involved in it that basically as a commentator or as a host of a podcast with a
Yeah.
fighter on, that he's going to ask the most important and the most valid questions.
And he's into it too. Like he's
Yeah.
like, this is my jam. So
and he trains and stuff, and his listening. It's interesting listening to different people. When they commentate the fights, like Joe always notices certain things that other commentators might not notice or might not
sure.
comment about.
For sure.
And he's like, "Oh, that leg kick! Ooh, there's that leg kick!" And
Yeah.
and you're like, "Oh man, he is doing a lot of
Yeah.
you wouldn't really think about it. You're kind of watching the
true.
fist fly." So.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe
And
is
it's cool to have someone who technically knows like jiu-jitsu, right? So when I do some of the commentary for the Taiwanese fights,
Yeah.
I always have like my daughter goes to jiu-jitsu, right? So I have like her coach, who's like a 10th Planet guy. So he's like from the States, 10th Planet guy. He's doing his jiu-jitsu thing here, and when it goes to the ground, I'm just like, here you go. And he's just like, okay, so he's gonna step over here, and he's got the whizzer here, and blah blah. And I know a lot of it, but not like people that actually coach and train jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So it's another level for sure. So Rogan obviously knows that.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
knows
yeah.
it so, and it's
amazing,
It's
yeah.
such a pleasure to have somebody as a commentator who is that knowledgeable, because they kind of they do the work for you.
Yeah.
They walk you through, and you're like, oh, that's a Darce choke, like
Yeah.
or whatever it is. Like they just kind of give you these clues that put the pieces together. Otherwise, I would just be like, man, I have no idea what's going on right now.
Yeah, no, they're really good. I love that. Speaking of the fights, we just watched the Bilal fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you think of that? That's kind of crazy. Yeah, Bilal and Jack Dillon.
Well, I think we both thought the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
definitely.
It seemed like a little bit of a robbery,
Yes, I agree. And I feel like I'm not even a huge Bilal fan, but I
Yeah.
feel that definitely he won that fight. To me, it looked like he won that fight.
right? Yeah.
It looked like he won by pretty handily, right? Like it was maybe somewhat close, but I thought he won that. And then what's surprising is nobody's saying anything. Like, you know, usually people be like, oh my God, robbery of blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Like when GSP beat Johnny Hendricks,
Yeah.
when he just got his ass beat the whole fight and he was just destroyed. And then he won the decision. That was like a mad robbery. And
Right.
people were complaining for weeks. But, you know, this was not quite that bad.
Yeah.
But I still found that it was a robbery.
I
Yeah.
think that like we were talking, the amount of ground control
Yeah.
that Bilal had, regardless, I mean, because they both took substantial damage, right?
Definitely, yeah.
They both took, major damage. But there's something about Jack's style
Yeah.
that is, I'm not a fighter, so this is just a layman, a guy who's just a goofball, but
No, we watch a lot of fights though.
yeah,
Like,
his
for
style just seems unremarkable to
Yeah.
me. Like it's just like
Nothing
this,
was outstanding.
this guy
right?
getting through the fight, and
Yeah.
he's obviously super tough.
Of course, he's tough and he's amazing.
He's amazing. He can take tons of damage, and he can take hits. But Bilal's skills, like when Jack tried to take him down, and Bilal just like flipped him around. I mean, it was the amount of control that Bilal had in the fight, regardless of just that, rally in the end. I'm like, man, there's no way. I mean, it really, there was no point in the fight that I recall, except at the end when Bilal was really taking a lot of damage, where Bilal was backing down at all. I mean, he was moving forward.
Yep.
And so it seems that the decision should be based a lot on
Octagon control,
on the forward
right?
momentum,
Yeah.
ground control. And I mean, I've seen decisions go to somebody for a lot less than what Bilal did. And I guess we both have.
I agree. Yeah,
I think
for
that's
sure.
why it was kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I thought.
yeah,
And-
I thought Bilal, fought like a badass.
Yeah, I think so.
The whole fight.
And then so now JDM is going to fight Islam. And
He's
what do you
going to
think
try to
about that?
fight. He's going to try to fight Islam. I think
Yeah.
if Islam is, I mean, Bilal's great at what he does, but as we were talking, Islam is a finisher,
Yeah.
and Islam's speed and skill and agility on the ground. I mean, I think at this point, again, what we were talking about before, at this point in MMA, if you don't have a ground game that's highly developed enough where you can actually compete on the ground, not just defend takedowns, like
Yeah.
that's just surviving. But I mean, actually, fight on the ground. There's no way I can see Jack even being close to that.
Yeah.
If Bilal's taking him down and controlling him, Islam is gonna destroy him.
Yeah,
Unless
The
again,
puncher's chance.
yeah,
right?
unless
if he catches him.
Islam gets caught. But man, his boxing is so good now.
He's good now, yeah.
And
yeah.
watching him against Poirier, if Poirier doesn't catch you, then
Poirier's amazing.
I don't think Jack is going to catch him, because Poirier is, I think, a better boxer than
His
Jack
boxing is great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Poirier
yeah.
is a great boxer.
Yeah.
I mean, and Poirier's takedown defense is also great. I mean,
Yeah.
he's worked on that a lot. But when Poirier fought Islam, again, I think Poirier did an amazing job in that fight, I thought. But
Yeah.
but to be fighting a guy who's great on the feet but has a ground game that's so much more advanced than yours,
Yeah.
it's like, how do you
Yeah.
come out ahead unless you get lucky?
Yeah. Like Islam has one loss. He was caught and he got knocked out. Maybe 10 years ago. I don't
Yeah.
know. A long time ago.
Yeah.
But to be honest, the Dagestani wrestlers, it's a pretty safe bet.
Pretty safe bet, yeah.
Khabib and even Umar, which was what was really cool that Merab beat Umar,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or like Khabib and Islam and these guys. That's tough. And I mean, I know that Khabib and Islam and them, they train also at AKA, right?
Yeah.
With DC and that, and DC would say that Khabib and them would wrestle with him when he was heavyweight, and it'd be pretty even.
Yeah.
So for them to wrestle a 170-pound guy, that's crazy. Yeah.
When I think about the Dagestani guys,
Yeah.
remember the movie 300?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course.
So there's that part in the movie when the Spartans are heading out, and then they cross paths with that other group of guys, right?
Okay, yeah.
That are also going to help fight.
yeah.
And Leonidas looks at those guys. He goes, "You." He goes, "What do you do?" He goes, "I'm a painter." "What do you do?" "I'm a farmer."
I'm a farmer.
He goes,
Yeah.
"Spartans, what do you do?" It's
Yeah.
like they kick ass. Like
Yeah.
that's their job.
That's what they do.
They
Yeah.
don't do anything else.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, that's kind of the Dagestani thing. Like, these guys don't do anything else. They
Yeah.
they don't wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
They fight.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
So I remember noticing this. Dustin, before he fought Islam, he was like, "Yeah, I wear a lot of hats. I've got my hot sauce company." I'm like, "Man, that is not going to work for you, brother.
That's tough.
That'll work for retirement, but like
Yeah.
right now, you're fighting a guy that does not own a hot sauce company. It doesn't do this.
Yeah.
You're fighting a guy that trains to fight you every single day and does nothing else and thinks about nothing else.
It's
so
crazy, right? Yeah.
doesn't drink, doesn't party, doesn't do all that stuff, man. He just does that and he loves it and that's all he wants to do. So if you're wearing multiple hats, unless you get really lucky, that's just not going to happen. And I thought, because Dustin is so good and he's so skilled at what he does, like it was a pretty awesome fight to watch.
It was. Yeah.
But my favorite thing at the end of that fight was when Islam, after he choked him out, Islam was laying on the ground, because Dustin caught him a few times.
Yeah.
He took some damage, and Islam, with his head on the thing, just raised his hands up like, "Yeah, I won!" But his body was
like,
completely on the canvas. It was pretty awesome.
Adrenaline dump. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and
There's this one comedian. So a friend of mine shared a clip recently about this comedian who's like, he was talking about, the Dagestani wrestlers and stuff. And he's like, they're from Russia. That's like some of the toughest guys in the world. And they're from like the toughest part of Russia, which is like, Dagestan. And they're Muslim. So they're like super, super, like dedicated and disciplined. And he just, and he's like, why the hell would anyone want to fight this guy? Because he's just like this. He's this machine, and it's pretty true, I'd say, Like you look at Connor and those guys. I also was a big fan of Connor, but everybody's out partying and doing their thing.
Yeah.
But these other guys, they're just there to fight.
yeah, just go back
Yeah.
to the to Sparta. I mean, to 300. It's like, what do you guys do? Like,
Yeah.
that's what we do. Like, we're warriors. Like,
Yeah.
we don't do anything else.
Yeah.
So
Agree.
yeah, it's not going to be a fair fight unless that's what you do in your life. And there are a few people like we were talking. Ilya Taporia obviously is a different kind of the Georgian. But interestingly enough, the Georgian cats are like. I mean, the Georgian guys are really similar in a way.
Similar, right?
That's a similar part of the world, and there's a rivalry specifically between those two places.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's one of the things that made that fight with Umar.
That was fight of the year.
And Murad Marab so exciting. I mean,
Yep.
there was and you knew that the pressure between those guys was real.
Yeah.
It was personal.
Yep.
It was
Agree.
personal culturally. It was personal individually, just on all levels. So that was such an exciting fight.
And I think that Marab, he felt insulted a bit that Umar got that shot so quick.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, Dana, UFC, they love Islam, they love Khabib, right? So to get another Nurmagomedov with the belt, they'll be like, let's get that guy back up there, So he got that shot pretty quick, and then Marab beat him, which was incredible. Those guys never lose,
Yeah, and they couldn't admit it. That was
they couldn't admit it. Yeah.
I think the most embarrassing thing for the Dagestanis was that there was just excuse after excuse. It's like, he broke his hand. It's like, yeah, he broke his hand because he hit the guy the wrong way. Like, that's his fault. Like, nobody else threw that punch. That was him. So whatever happened, that's on him. He lost the fight.
Yeah, man.
He lost it.
Agreed.
And Javier Mendez, the striking
Yeah,
coach,
of course, he's Mexican. Yeah,
he refused to acknowledge that Umar. He's like, no, Marab fooled the judges and was celebrating and doing
Yeah.
all this. I'm like, dude, Marab was ragdolling that guy, and
Which
he
was
and he
crazy.
couldn't breathe. Like,
Yeah.
like Umar was like was like out of batteries.
Yeah, to be honest, Umar, I thought won the first round or two. Like, he
Yeah,
looked great.
sure.
And then it just went, it was crazy.
Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah.
Marab, when Marab took over, that was it. The party was over.
Yep.
And Marab, the level of control that he had was so dominant that
Yeah.
there was just no
It
question.
would just single leg, toss him to
No,
the
man.
ground.
And he's
Hey.
laughing about it. It was
Yeah.
like, Marab kind of lives in that cat loves chaos.
Yeah.
He is, but he's such a, I love Marab. I think Marab is
Yeah.
such a great guy.
Same.
He's got such a positive energy, and he's crazy as the day is long. But
Like
he's,
when he took O'Malley's jacket, that was beautiful.
but
I
he
love
just,
that.
it was
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
That was great, yeah.
The thing is, Marab is he's such a nice dude.
Yeah.
And when, like O'Malley with all of that, with all the goofy shit, the hair and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and just like, just trying to be tough and the sunglasses. And Marab is just who he is.
Yeah.
The cat's a construction worker.
Yeah.
Like he says that. He goes, man, I'm so lucky to
Blue
be here. I'm
collar,
so
right?
grateful to be here. He's like
Yeah.
a real guy. Some of these other guys try to wear these kind of
Yeah.
facades.
Because the Connor effect, right?
And then,
yeah.
when they lose, like O'Malley did horribly,
Yeah.
at Noche at the
That was
Sphere.
rough. That was
Oh
rough. Yeah.
man!
Yeah.
I mean, to headline
Yeah.
the one-time show at the Sphere and to get destroyed
Yeah.
after kind of all this
Talking all that,
all this
yeah.
bluster. It's like, man, that's humiliating. That was brutal. So it just and Umar did the same thing on a he's like that's just your belt for a moment, whatever, all those things, and
Yeah.
just kind of looking past him. And I think when we saw Habib try to grab the belt from Dana,
That's crazy.
when and the look that Dana gave Habib, he
Yeah.
was like, man, what are you doing?
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
what are you touching me for? He's like, man, let go of that belt.
Yeah.
That was amazing. It was like Habib couldn't accept
Yeah, he couldn't.
that
Yeah.
that his cousin lost
He lost. Yeah.
the main event. He lost to a Georgian,
Crazy.
lost fair and square, and he
Yeah.
just couldn't accept it.
It was crazy, man.
I loved it, man. I loved it. I loved it because I thought Umar was being kind of a
He was-
dick,
Yeah.
and I think he deserved it.
Karma is always a big
And
thing, right?
Umar's brother almost lost his next fight to that Irish guy.
Yeah. Yes.
That was-
shoot. What's his name? Usman or Nurmagomedov,
Usman
right? Yeah, yeah. In PFL, I think. Right?
Almost lost that
Yeah,
fight.
yeah. Crazy. They were shaking. They were definitely shaking up.
That Irish guy was so tough.
Yeah,
he
he's
was
good.
He
He's
was
good.
great. Yeah,
Definitely. So I
So-
got to ask you one more
Sure.
question.
Sure.
Mount Rushmore
yeah.
of UFC fighters, like the top four. You had to pick four people to be on the Mount Rushmore of UFC fighters.
Okay, so the full disclosure, I was aware of UFC kind of when it started,
Yeah.
but there's a long period of time that I kind
Sure.
of detached. So
Yeah,
there
same.
were
Me too.
there were
Me
so
too.
many amazing fights that I missed, and,
Yeah.
and so many periods that I'm not clued into. So
Sure.
my take on that is going to be limited and based on my kind of limited experience. But
That's okay. Yeah.
I'll base it on the last few years of like
Okay.
the fights that I've watched.
Okay.
Mount Rushmore.
Got to pick four. Yeah.
Obviously, and no question, John Jones has to be on
He
there.
has to be.
He has to be, man.
People love him. They hate him, but he has to be.
It doesn't matter how you feel about him. It matters,
Yeah.
it's it matters what happens at the end of the fight, man.
Yeah.
He just wins.
We all wanted DC to win so bad, but he just couldn't do it. Right?
Yeah.
We're like, yeah,
And-
DC's such a nice guy.
and the
but
cool-
Jones is just a monster.
The thing that I really respect about DC, I really respect this about him, is that he said that he trained as hard as he possibly could, and that he did everything he could to win that fight, and he still lost.
Yeah.
And that takes a man
Yeah.
to admit that, to say, man, I did my best, and this guy still beat me when I really tried my hardest.
Yeah. Agreed.
I have massive,
amazing. I love
massive,
DC.
massive respect for him to
Yeah.
say that, because he's just being real. He's being honest about it.
Yeah.
Not making excuses like some people do.
Yeah.
So obviously, John Jones is on there.
Just quickly, let me cut in here. Do you know why they hated each other so much at the beginning? Do you know the story a little bit about that or not?
Tell
really?
me about it.
So basically, I'll do the short version. So when, so DC was an Olympic wrestler,
Right.
and John Jones was, I'm not sure if he was champ, but he was coming up, and he was, kind of on his way to being champ. He might have been champ already, and DC was, he wasn't a champ, but he was an Olympic wrestler, famous Olympian, blah blah blah.
Right.
And then they met each other, and John didn't know who he was. And DC was like, hey, blah, 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 I'm a fan, blah, 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 John Jones. And John Jones is like, he's like, oh, nice to meet you, kind of like, what do you do? And he's just like, I'm an Olympic wrestler. And then he's just like, oh, really? Like, basically, I don't know if he's like, what team or whatever. He's like, I'm US, like, I'm one of the best in the world. And then John Jones is like, I bet I can take you down. So he said that to DC, and that was like why DC hated him so much at the beginning, because you could totally see John Jones say that, right? So then,
But he'll be right when he says it.
Yeah, for sure. Because
Like-
he's John Jones.
Like, that's the thing. I mean,
That's John Jones. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, he just has he has
yeah.
he has a skill and a physicality and
Yeah.
just a mastery over his mind and body
Yeah.
that most people don't have, even when he's not training properly or
Yeah.
doing good things for himself.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So
Okay.
he's just kind of like, I bet I could take you down. And then I think, from what I hear, DC was pissed. So that's the
Yeah.
story that I heard anyway.
Yeah.
But all right, let's keep going. We got John Jones. Who else we got?
Man, I wish that I had entered back into UFC when GSP was really in his reign, because
Prime. Okay.
because based on everything everyone says,
Yeah.
everybody, GSP has to be
He's
there
got to be on there. Yeah.
because he was so dominant.
Yeah.
So
The funny thing is, when he was on top and he was dominant, it was. I don't want to. Who can I compare him to? I don't want to compare him to like an Usman, like somebody who would, or like a Bilal, somebody who would wrestle and just like dominate people,
Right.
but not finish all the time. So at the time when he was on top, a lot of people loved him. Of course, he's GSP, but a lot of people didn't like him because they're like, oh God, here we go, another decision, right?
That's right. That's
yeah.
right.
But
Yeah.
now they just remember him being GSP. Which he has to be up there. He's amazing. Love GSP.
Yeah, I think it's hard because when people, and I think Drekus,
Same, yeah.
said this a lot. He's like, man, I don't want to win by decision. I don't want the ref to. Obviously, it does happen.
Sure.
And that's just the way it is sometimes. But, yeah.
Drickus is the underdog against Hamzat. Yeah.
Yeah. So
crazy. Yeah.
Finishing the Mount Rushmore,
finish that.
it would be absurd to not have both Islam and Khabib on there.
Okay.
They both just because they're both so good at what they do.
Yeah.
Khabib was to me he was fun to watch
Yeah.
because Islam is like a technician,
Yeah.
but Khabib to me was more of an artist.
Okay.
And Khabib had this anger,
Okay.
like just this, and his striking was kind of loose and like
Yeah.
when he would dodge punches, it looked kind of weird. It looked like but man, his dominance, like I mean, when he finished Conor,
Yeah.
just to dominate somebody like that and be talking to them and then have so much anger that after you dominate that person in an octagon in front of millions of people, including, the streaming in that, then you jump over the cage and attack people in the audience on his camp. Like,
Yeah.
that
was crazy.
That's a different kind of cat.
Yeah.
And so to me, I think because his dad was who he was, I think Khabib is just a different, I think Islam is a byproduct of that, but Khabib is like the source. Like he's like the he's like the middle, you know.
Yeah.
He's the hub of the wheel.
Okay.
And
Yeah, yeah.
so watching that guy do what he did in the way that he did it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think that Islam is like a almost like an evolution because his striking looks great.
It does
He's
look,
looking good.
It does
Yeah,
look great.
Yeah, it's
There
looking-
was just something charismatically about Khabib's personality,
Yeah.
about his intensity.
Yeah, I love Khabib
His
for sure.
his personality and Islam's personality are really different.
Yeah, for sure.
Islam always seems like a little bit spaced out, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah, he
Khabib
does.
is like he's
focused.
Khabib is like a laser beam, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's so sharp, and it doesn't matter that English isn't his first language. You can tell how sharp he is.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
he's just aware of everything. And there's
Beautiful.
something about that I really think is great. You know, other people that I would for sure, you know,
Honorable mentions here.
well,
Let's see what we got.
Izzy. I
Yeah.
mean, Izzy.
Izzy's beautiful. I love that guy.
Yeah, watching Izzy's, you know, especially like his reign, his physical, like Izzy's control of his body, like his natural athleticism is pretty shocking. It's pretty incredible.
Did you see Izzy and Anderson Silva? Did you see that one?
No,
If you have a chance,
yeah, I know that's a shame.
Izzy's coming up,
Yeah,
and Anderson's kind of like peaked and coming
Yeah.
down, and they kind of meet each other. But it's almost like a video game of like two like Matrix bosses. It's a good one if you have a chance. Maybe I'll see if I can get it and we'll check
That'd
it
be
out
great.
next time. That's a great scrap. Yeah.
yeah. That's the shame for me. I know that there are like legit MMA fans that have never left the sport that are probably saying, "Dude, you're missing like all of this stuff." But I'm aware that I'm missing it because I took a break from it for a long time.
Even though you missed a lot, John Jones has to be on there. GSP has to be on there.
Yeah.
Islam and Khabib, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with that
there-
at all.
I put him on there just because
they're
there's
incredible.
there's
Yeah.
no you can't you just can't argue with the results.
Yeah, you
right.
can't. Yeah.
People who I love, who I think have like, I mean, Dricus. I think like everybody, Dricus has shocked me because I never thought
Yeah.
he would get as far. You know, everybody talks about his awkward style, but man, he's just tough. His nails, and he
Yeah.
just wins. You know, he just makes it happen.
Sometimes he's looking sloppy, but he just keeps beating everybody, which is crazy.
Yeah, and
crazy.
that's it. It's not just his body, but it's his mind. You know, he knows what he's capable of, and he kind of shows up and does it.
But I could talk about UFC all day. One more question. So,
Yeah, man.
Dricus and Hamzat. That's good. That's like fight of the century, man. That's
Yeah.
almost as good as fight as a John Jones and Tom Aspinall, right? So, what do you think of Dricus and Hamzat? How do you think that'll go?
My gut reaction is Hamzat,
Okay.
because Hamzat is so. After watching what Hamzat did to Rob
Robert
Whittaker,
Whittaker, yeah.
it was pretty like. You know, I mean, that was pretty intense. You know, Robert Whittaker is not
It's amazing.
He's an
Yeah.
amazing fighter.
Yeah.
He's, you know, at the highest level, and just watching Hamzat do what he did. Dricus is a different animal than Whittaker, obviously, and again, but man, the only thing I could see that would do Hamzat in is if he gassed.
If he gasses, that's it.
And we both agreed on this when he fought Usman.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, no.
Yeah, he fought Usman, Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, yeah,
And he
yeah.
started to gas in the third round, right?
Yeah, and Kamara took over that third round.
Totally.
And if that for sure, I think if that fight would have gone 5 rounds, Kamara Usman would have won that fight.
Yeah.
And the only reason he didn't win that fight, I think, is because it was short notice and he
Yeah.
didn't do a full camp, and his
For sure.
his cardio wasn't where it needed to be.
Yeah.
Because man, I think his wrestling is easily on par with Khamzat.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kamaru Usman is not as crazy. He's not crazy the way Khamzat is, but he's so good. I mean, there's a reason he was champion for as long as
Yeah.
he was, right?
Well, I mean, if you look at Hamzat, just like, you know, when the referee, you know, round one, he's like, you know, are you ready? And when he's just kind of like that smile and
Yeah.
the eyes, it's actually scary. Yeah.
It's scary, man.
It's scary. I'd be like, ooh, this guy is a scary guy,
There's
man.
some,
Yeah.
you know, we were talking earlier today. There's
Yeah.
something
I
about
love him. He's one of my favorites. But yeah, it
there's
is
some-
scary.
There's
yeah.
something about the Eastern European cats, like you know, Marab has it.
Yeah.
Like they're a little crazy, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's Khabib is a little crazy.
Yeah, they have it. Yeah.
I mean,
They can turn on
he has control of himself, obviously,
Yeah.
but you look in his eye and you're like, man, I would never ever cross the line with that guy.
Yeah,
Ever.
yeah, for
Never.
sure.
Because he would kill me.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure. Yeah.
Marab is like a happy version of that.
Yeah.
He's like you know, he's the nice guy. But again, like watching the stuff that he does, and
Yeah.
when he injures himself, like before training camp, you're just like, dude, don't jump off buildings, or you know, he just is always doing something insane and
Yep.
fully committing.
Yeah.
Like he's not
All
like
in.
he's not like messing around for the camera. He's like, you're like, dude, you could have just died.
Yeah.
And he just does it.
Yeah.
So those
All
guys,
in, right?
those guys have this other gear that
Yeah.
that most people don't,
Yeah.
and they're able to
Agreed.
they're able to shift into that
Yeah.
gear in the octagon. And if you don't have that gear, there's no way you're going to keep up. There's no way.
And I also think, you know, when they have their accent when they speak, and if they don't speak that much, like Hamza when he was new, it was like legit scary when, you know, they'd go like, fight everybody, kill everybody, rah, you know, and
Oh,
then
man.
everybody's like, oh my God, this guy's scary.
Kill everybody.
Yeah,
he
right.
does it.
And then he
man.
slowly like learned English more. Like
Yeah.
his English is decent now. So then, you know, his English is good now, let's say. But then they'll be like, Hamza, you just won, beat, blah blah blah. Like, what are you gonna do now? And he'd be like, I go smash a pizza. You know, and it's just like it's so funny because he's like, smash everybody, kill everybody, rah, you know. And then he's like, smash a pizza. And it's just like, oh, okay. It's funny though to see the evolution, but he's still. Yeah, I think he'll win. I mean, it's hard to bet against Dricus because I thought Izzy was going to beat him. He didn't.
Yeah.
The last 2 or 3 times he fought, I thought even Strickland was going to beat him, but he didn't.
Man, what happened
But
to
Strickland.
What happened to Strickland?
Strickland is just. I don't
That
know what happened to
second
him.
one?
Yeah,
it
that
was like
bad.
it was like
I thought Strickland won the first one.
he did. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah,
He
yeah.
did win it, but
Totally
the
win, yeah.
second one he
He
got
looked
like
awful. Yeah.
no. I mean, he just got locked into this like I can't do anything but the jab. It was like,
Yeah.
dude,
It was bad.
like
yeah.
why would you train wrestling if you can't even attempt a takedown?
Yeah. I
Like,
don't
what
know.
is the point?
I don't know.
So
man.
I don't understand. I mean, who am I to talk, man? I mean, I don't
know.
I don't get up in an octagon in front of that many people or in front of anybody for that matter in fights. So I'm nobody to criticize. But watching what Strickland did against Izzy, and then watching Strickland in the second Dricus fight, it was like, dude, what happened?
Yeah.
Because
I agree. Yeah,
because
it was very different.
Because I
very
feel
different.
like when Strickland gets in the zone,
He's amazing.
he's
What he did to Izzy
he
was
is
like,
he's a
what?
killer, man.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
Strickland is also. I mean, a lot of these guys, Strickland's a little nuts.
Yeah, for sure.
He
for sure.
loves hitting people, and he doesn't mind getting hit.
Yeah.
Like he's cool
Yeah.
with it. So there was something with Dricus that second time, and I don't know, maybe if it was a mental thing. Like I'm not sure. I feel like it was because I think Sean's skills are great, but he really showed his lack of dimension. Like he was kind of a one-dimensional fighter in that second fight.
Philly shell, right?
Yeah, it's like
Look, yeah.
it's like everybody knows that you do that.
Yeah.
I mean that's different than knowing that Khabib is going to wrestle, because Khabib's ground game can
Yeah.
end you in like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Like the Philly shell is gonna
Yeah.
gonna go to a decision.
Sure,
Khabib
sure,
is gonna choke you out in
Yeah.
before you can count to 3.
Love
Yeah.
Khabib, man.
Yeah, it's
you
a
know what?
different thing.
We might have to do our own spin-off podcast on UFC, man, because it's pretty
man.
good. We talk
That would
about
sound-
that.
that would
That's
sound
beautiful.
great, man.
Let us know if you guys would like that, man.
Yeah,
But,
sorry, we diverged from music quite a bit.
Yeah.
We went from jazz to physical violence,
Yes, yes.
and effortlessly with
Yeah.
absolutely no
UFC
problem.
is like this the one. It's like the one thing that I watch that's like I love it. I'm all in on UFC.
Me too.
Everything else, like I'm trying to learn how to make my business better. I'm trying to learn how to make the podcast better.
Yeah.
My YouTube channel, trying to learn how to make family whatever better. But the one thing that's like I'm all that's unrelated that I just love. It's UFC. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even as I said, even though I've kind of come in
Yeah.
pretty late relative to most people, it's so, man, I mean, it's so, how could you not be fascinated?
It's amazing. I love it.
It's amazing in the again, they always say styles make fights. I mean, just the
Yeah.
difference, the uniqueness, the way each person approaches combat,
Yeah,
and
I love it.
And then in your mind, everybody's trying to kind of imagine what's going to happen, and occasionally it goes that way, and sometimes it's just the opposite. You're like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. There's this huge hole in somebody's game,
Yeah,
and then the
yeah.
other person exploits it,
Totally
and you're like,
exploits it.
wow.
Yeah.
And so that to me is, I mean, it's just like, yeah, I mean, there's something about it that is so satisfying to watch, and
I
just,
love it.
and I think the way, to me, Dana is a genius.
Oh, yeah.
He's basically created this soap opera, this drama
Yeah.
with like combat, with all of these characters and all of these sub stories and
Yeah.
all this stuff happening. And it's just cycling, and there's new people coming in, and it's just this evolving thing. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like a soap opera for people who love combat.
I love it. And people think it's just like violence, but it's like almost like chess.
It
and
is-
soap opera, and like it's one of the best things. Like
It is absolutely chess. It's chess with your body, because
Yeah.
when you listen to these guys talk about it, when you listen
Yeah.
to Khabib talk about a fight,
yeah,
even Strickland, man, Strickland has a really, I mean, obviously his fight IQ is high, but when you listen to Strickland, he spars so much.
Mm-hmm.
When you listen to him talk about a fight, he's talking in such tiny little detail
Yeah.
about things and about the dynamics between somebody, and you're like, man, this guy thinks about this stuff a lot. Like,
Yeah.
the guys who make it to that level are not. It's not happening like just cause.
yeah. It's not an
Like,
accident.
no, there is a
Yeah.
mental. There's an element there where they're engaged on this super high level. And man, that is so incredible. I mean, it's not unlike watching a great musician play.
Yeah,
Or
agree.
or a great chef for that matter.
Agree,
Yeah.
agree. Yeah,
Anybody
yeah.
being great at what they do. But it is I guess because obviously you and we're not out there physically fighting people.
Yeah.
They're kind of doing it for us. And then
Yeah.
I get up and play. Maybe they're not playing music, so I'll get
Yeah.
up and play the music for them, right?
Everyone's got their thing, and
Yeah.
that just happens for me to be one of the things that I enjoy watching. It's almost like my junk food.
Same.
Like I'll wake up, and when I turn the phone on or whatever, I'm not a big like worldly guy like that's gonna check the news, but I check the MMA news.
Of course.
I put that on, and I check, MMA Zone and MMA Junkie, and I just let those
same.
play. And every day there's these dudes are releasing clips every day, like videos, 10-minute videos. I'm brushing my teeth, and I've got that on, and it's like somebody made the Jones and John Jones and Tom Aspinall fight, and I'll click it, and it's total clickbait, but I'll still listen to the whole
there's
thing.
so much of that clickbait.
It's
Yeah.
crazy, yeah.
I love Marab's little tongue-in-cheek videos,
He's
man.
amazing. I
Dude,
love
he
him.
is so funny,
It's
man.
too funny. Yeah.
He'll put his little suit on, and he'll pick up the little
he's
Sean
good.
O'Malley doll. He'll be like, "Sean, what happened to you, my friend?"
Yeah. It's too good.
He's so funny, man.
It's too good, man.
He's great.
But yes, well, I guess I will see you tomorrow again.
Yeah, man.
If you guys tomorrow night come down to Eddie's Cantina, we've got live jazz music by this man right here. There are still seats available. Make a reservation. Comment below whatever you need. Come see us. Yeah.
Come to Eddie's and eat 3 tacos every day for the rest of your life. You'll be fine. You'll live forever.
No
I
argument
promise.
there. No argument there. Man, appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much,
Thank
man.
you guys for watching. Let us know. I think a spin-off separate, UFC podcast, like once every week or
That
once every
would be
couple weeks or
amazing.
something would be
Yes.
amazing. I would love to do that.
That would be amazing.
Let me know what you guys think, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you everybody for watching Eddie's show. We feel only happiness, don't feel any sorrow. Welcome everybody to watch more on his content. Eddie Live Podcast. Eddie Live Podcast.